In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a knife in Tinkercad step by step using simple shapes, hole tools, and alignment so you can build a clean-looking model that's perfect for practice and 3D design. We'll focus on two main parts, the blade and the handle, and then we'll add a tang so everything fits together more realistically. This is a great beginner project because it teaches you how to combine basic shapes, use holes to cut details, and make your model look more polished. If you find this tutorial helpful, make sure to hit like and subscribe for more Tinkercad and 3D design guides. Let's jump right in. First, open Tinkercad and create a new design. Once you're on the work plane, we'll start with the blade. For the blade, you want a shape that already has a pointed or angled look, so drag in either a paraboloid or a wedge from the Basic Shapes panel. If you're using a wedge, that usually gives you a good starting point right away because it already slopes into a blade-like form. Place it on the work plane and use the white handles to stretch it into the general size you want for your knife blade. A real knife blade is long, narrow, and slightly tapered, so don't make it too thick. Keep adjusting the length and height until it starts to resemble a kitchen knife or a utility blade. Now we need to refine that shape so it looks sharper and more realistic. To do that, drag a box shape onto the work plane and switch it to hole. Position that hole box so it cuts away part of the blade and creates a more angled edge. You can use the black cone handle to adjust the depth and the white handles to resize it. The goal here is to remove extra bulk and give the blade a cleaner profile. After placing the hole, select both the blade and the box and group them. This will subtract the hole and leave you with a more knife-like shape. If the result looks too chunky, don't worry. Just undo, resize the shapes a little more, and try again until it looks right. Next, we'll make the edge of the blade look sharper. A nice trick in Tinkercad is to place a very thin wedge along the bottom edge of the blade and set that wedge to hole. This helps create a beveled effect, which makes the blade feel more realistic even though Tinkercad is working with basic geometry. Position the thin wedge carefully so it runs along the cutting side. Then select everything and group it again. This step can make a big difference in how the final model looks because it adds that visual impression of a sharpened edge without needing complicated modeling tools. Now, let's move on to the handle. Drag a cylinder onto the work plane and stretch it into an oval or oblong shape. The handle should feel comfortable and fit naturally in the hand, so make it slightly thicker than the blade and rounded at the edges. You can resize the cylinder by dragging the handles until it has a smooth, ergonomic look. Depending on the style you want, you can make it more traditional and rounded or a little more modern and streamlined. The most important thing is that it looks balanced compared to the blade. To make the handle more comfortable and realistic, we'll add finger grooves. Drag two small cylinders onto the work plane and set both of them to hole. Place them on the sides of the handle where your fingers would naturally rest. These holes will carve out small grip areas once we group everything together. Make sure the holes are symmetrical and not too deep because you want the handle to stay strong while still looking ergonomic. After placing them properly, select the handle and the holes, then group them. This will create a more detailed grip shape that looks much better than a plain cylinder. Once the blade and handle are ready, we need to attach them properly. This is where the Align tool comes in. Select the blade and the handle, then press L on your keyboard or click the Align tool from the top menu. You'll see alignment dots appear around the objects. Use those to center the blade and handle so they line up perfectly. This is important because a knife looks much better when the blade is straight and centered with the handle. If your parts are even slightly off, the model can look uneven or unrealistic, so take a moment here to get the placement just right. Now let's add the tang, which is the part of the blade that extends into the handle. This is a really useful detail if you want your knife model to look more realistic or be better prepared for 3D printing. To create the tang, add a thin rectangle shape to the end of the blade. Make it narrow and extend it slightly into the handle area. Then create a matching rectangular hole in the handle so the tang can fit into it. This gives the model a puzzle-like connection, and the blade and handle feel like separate mechanical pieces that belong together. It's a great way to practice designing functional parts instead of just decorative ones. After that, double-check all your parts before grouping. Make sure the blade is shaped the way you want, the handle is centered, and the tang fits correctly. If something looks off, you can still adjust the size or position before making the final group. When everything looks good, select the full model and group it together. At this point, you should have a clean knife model made from simple Tinkercad shapes with a shaped blade, an ergonomic handle, and a realistic connection point. If you want to take it a step further, you can also experiment with colors, proportions, or slightly different blade styles. For example, you could make a longer chef-style knife, a smaller utility knife, or a more stylized fantasy version. Tinkercad makes it easy to test different ideas because every shape is simple to edit. The more you practice, the better you'll get at turning basic shapes into detailed models. And that's how you make a knife in Tinkercad using simple tools, hole cuts, alignment, and a tang connection. If this tutorial helped you, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more easy Tinkercad tutorials, 3D modeling tips, and beginner design projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.